Alright, quick update on waves. So, we've just had a pretty brutal rejection. For the past couple of days, we've been moving up and we were keeping our eyes on $12. I was saying that $12 is basically your moon line. If we come up to $12 and get rejected, so be it, we're moving down. If we did break $12, it would have been interesting, but it seems like we're already kind of deciding on a move. Now, for the past week, I don't even need to show you the price, I can show you the volume. We've been moving pretty mad for waves. We've had 173 million worth of volume traded, and you know, prior to this is interesting because we had 30 million, 26, 61 million, 43 million. During this whole capitulation phase where waves was dumping, we never had any of this volume coming in, and now we're seeing a ton of volume coming in. I mean, in the past day, we've almost had 8 million in literally a single day. So, waves, it looks like it is going down, in my opinion. The squeeze bomb, our momentum indicator, just started to trickle over into bullish, but it seems like this is once again another bunny hill where we've come up, we've come into the EMA ribbons, and we were cooling off while this was happening, but now we're going to be going down. In my opinion, the daily time frame is going to switch back over to the bearish side of things, and this is going to be a fake out. Now, if we look at the 4 hour, it's already starting to happen. So this is going to bleed over into the daily. You know, we need to switch from a bullish to a bearish trend on lower time frames first, and then it is going to bleed on into the higher time frames as it capitulates further. Looking at the 4 hourly time frame, the squeeze bomb has already started to tank pretty hard. And yeah, I mean, that's basically all I've got to say. I'm going to show you the Bitcoin pair in 1 second, and we're going to talk about some price targets of where this is likely to come down to in the short term. Looking at this in the weekly though, like I said, from your previous low to from your previous high to your previous low, let's move this over. You've obviously invalidated pretty much everything at this point in time. So there's really nothing left to hold. These were your last lines in the sand, and we have failed it every single time. We've moved back down below the breakdown. Like, bear in mind, this was Wave's previous all-time high coming into May of 2021. We broke down, went sideways. This is like a typical bear market type structure where you capitulate, you have an expanded flat cycle, and then you move up. But now, you know, I wouldn't call this an expanded flat cycle. I'm pretty sure that we are going to be backpedaling to the downside. I mean, looking at the weekly time frame, we're just building up so much momentum to the downside, and it's going to take a lot of upwards momentum to swing this out. Now, in my opinion, we had this big bounce in the past week due to two things. Number one, the EMA ribbons on the weekly time frame recently flipped bearish. So a lot of the time you see weekly EMA ribbon flip to the downside, and then you try and pump back into them. We didn't even have enough strength to come up to $15. We came up to $12 a few times. But $15, you know, this is where the EMA ribbons on the weekly are coming in. That is number one why I think we've pumped. And number two, their stablecoin USDN Neutrino. If you're unsure why I'm referencing this, basically in the past couple of months or so, this lost its peg to $1 twice, and it went down to about 78. This says 78, but I'm pretty sure it went lower. Yeah, it did. This went down to 69 cent as far as I remember. Yeah, it is coming down here at 69 cent, but I unfortunately just can't click on it. And then quite recently, in the past month, we came down to 74 cent again. So stablecoins have really been getting battered recently, left, right, and center. But the past 7 days or so, we are moving back up to that valuation on USDN that we really should have never left in the first place. So I can't give Waves the benefit of the doubt and say this is amazing news. Shouldn't have lost its peg in the first place, but it is what it is. It's returned back to its peg. This is good news for Waves. But that being said, Waves market cap is almost at 1 billion. Waves is completely overvalued. That's just my opinion. You can let me know what you think of that down below. But I think for what Waves is, it's completely overvalued, at least in my opinion. And I do think we are going to start to switch down to lower price targets now. So on the 4 hourly time frame, you know, from a Fibonacci perspective, we haven't broken bearish. We're probably still holding all these major fibs that we would need to hold, but I do think we are going to be coming down now. So quite recently, we flipped the 13 EMA. If we are going to be bullish, and I am going to be wrong, then it seems like we're going to be coming back to this apex of the moving average and this trend line anyway. So I could imagine Waves to come down to about $6.90 before we can even expect anything remotely resemblant of a bounce. This would be about a 20% drop from where we are right now, and you can really see we've been getting slaughtered against the 13 EMA for a very, very long period of time. You can see we flipped below it at $41, got rejected here, got rejected here, got rejected here, here, got rejected here. So we've been underneath this for so long. So even if we are going to break macro bullish, I don't think there is any way of doing that without coming back down to $7 first, which from where we are now is about another 7% drop. That is not 7, sorry, 20% drop down to the downside to $7. That is where I think we're heading. You can see this trend line, we've been stuck underneath this since the 11th of April as well, and once again coming into the lower time frames, we did flip this. We flipped out of this on a bull flag, so I don't necessarily think that we have to come back to this trend line, but the 13 EMA, absolutely imperative that we come down to $7 and prove that we are bullish before we get our bullish hats on. So I think Waves is going down. I do think after this 20% drop we have a likelihood of dropping a lot harder than that. If we go over to the daily time frame, you can see we really don't have support until these lows, and if we do capitulate this hard, it can be another 51% drop down to the next level down, because this was where I was predicting we were going to move around about here. I was predicting a 40% drop, and we started to turn around at about 30%. I still think we are coming down to these levels. Now, if we zoom out, drag this back, you can see we have a plethora of touch points. This was a big accumulation range back in the day. If we hop over to the weekly, you can see pretty well defined. I mean, we can move this down a tiny bit if you're looking at the weekly, but there's a lot of touch points on this on the daily, around here, here, touch points to the downside, here, and here. I think we're coming down to this box. So, call me bearish, but I think we're moving down about another 60% or so for Waves. I think $3.62. Bear in mind, 60% drop obviously isn't going to directly, well it is, but it doesn't have to equals a 60% drop in the market cap. But just making the maths easy, I imagine the market cap is going to come down to around about 400 billion. Bear in mind, if the price dips 10%, that does not have to correlate to a 10% drop in the market cap, and vice versa. It really depends on the supply and the demand at the moment, at the time. But yeah, like I said, Waves probably coming down to $20, so let's at least, not $20, coming down 20% to $7. I've messed that up twice now, but that is where I think Waves is going down to. I also do just want to show you Waves BTC before we do wrap up the video, because I'm of the opinion that if you are invested in cryptos, if you are invested in altcoins, and you're invested in the long term, who cares if your altcoin is outperforming the US dollar? I want to know whether my altcoin is outperforming Bitcoin. That's much more important to me. I invest in crypto and I invest in altcoins specifically because I believe in Bitcoin in the long term, and when I make profits in altcoins, I want to drag them over and use those profits to accumulate Bitcoin. I don't care about accumulating more altcoins. I don't care about accumulating more US dollars. I want to accumulate my Bitcoin stack. So when I trade these altcoins, I measure them or I quantify them against Bitcoin a lot of the time, because if it's not outperforming Bitcoin, what's the point? Well, Waves has been in a very, very slow but steady uptrend since 2019, and you can see it had a massive run up, and then it was accused of being a Ponzi scheme. Like I said, I don't necessarily think it was, but it's stablecoin depegged as the price was pumping out of almost nowhere, so it was looking kind of suspicious. Whether I think it is or not, it really doesn't matter. What the community and the general public and people publishing articles about crypto think of what Waves is, that does matter, because that is going to influence investor sentiment, and investor sentiment for Waves at this moment in time is extremely bearish. This is probably one of the most risky altcoins that you can invest in. I'm not going to go into it into every aspect of it. If you've read the white paper, if you've done your research on Waves USDN, then good for yourself. But from my research, I think this is incredibly risky. We've just got rejected from the top of the EMA ribbons, and the last time we did this, we had a big move to the downside against Bitcoin. 4 hourly time frame, we are still being supported by your EMA ribbons, but I do think we are going to start seeing a shift back down to the downside. We did see like an engulfing sea of bullish candles taking over for a short period of time, but unfortunately, like I said, I don't hold this anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. But the volume has been diminishing, and while it has been diminishing, we are seeing more bearish volume coming in at this period in time. And also, looking at your squeeze mom on the 4-hourly time frame, we're starting to trickle over into light red, which is bearish. It means that bears are about to take over of the next trend coming over to the daily. We are starting to move down very hard from the EMA ribbons, and I think this is going to bleed in because, like I said, 4-hourly squeeze bomb is starting to move down. I think the daily squeeze bomb is also going to start moving down very, very soon. Last thing to note before we do wrap up this video, I've already said this, but waves is very, very overvalued. Do not think I'm being super bearish by predicting a 60% drop. I was here in the 2018 bear market, and when people think that altcoins are cheap, I'm telling you they can get a lot cheaper. So waves BTC does look pretty ugly to me. I think we are moving down, and that's pretty much all I've got for waves. I think we covered everything. We talked about the volume, we talked about the rejections from the EMA ribbons, we talked about where we're likely to come down to next, another 20% drop. We looked at the lower time frames as well, so that is all I've got. I feel like I was about to say something about waves BTC. The last thing I was going to say, I remember now, is I talked about this while this was happening, but this massive sea of green volume that we got was nice by itself, but I was telling you, be cautious, because if this volume does not continue to increase, if we don't continue to see bullish volume backing up the market structure, then this is going to roll down as fast as it rolled up. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing this failed move, at least in my opinion, it's a failed move, and we're already going to be tearing down into this. So I think we're coming all the way down to $7. Let me know what you think of that. That is all I've got for waves. Best of luck if you are planning on trading these markets. From where we are now, I predict at least another 20% drop coming in the next week or so. If we do break below there and we have a massive capitulation below $7, the next price target would be down here at basically $3.50, which is a 60% drop from where we are, and about another 50% drop from the 20% breakdown. So all I've got for waves. Best of luck. Like I said, as always, not financial advice. Cowboy out. Peace.